Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's welcome today's speaker, Pete.
My name is Pete Bingham, and I am a real alcoholic. And I want to thank Don for allowing me to come down here, and I want to thank God for allowing me to show up. For any of the new people that drove from out of town, Tony's not going to be here today. If you didn't get the memo, you got to see the speaker to get that kind of information. I want to welcome all those new folks that had the courage to identify. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. You never have to drink again if you don't want to. You never have to drink again if you do want to. And you don't have to hurt yourself anymore. Because when I came to you, I was drinking against my will and I couldn't stop. And the only thing that helped me is this program of these 12 principles and these 12 steps and the apostles and the goddesses that were here when I came in. For the new folks, I see there's a lot of new people here, and there's also a lot of young people here. And I want to welcome both of you. My home group, we really embrace the youngsters. And I remember a couple scenarios that were going on when I came in. I wasn't young when I came in. I was 38, but I've been around and I've watched some scenarios goes on. And for those young folks around here, whether you be alcoholic, whether you be an addict, whether you be a Coke monster or a bath salt maven, love the bath salts, man. Jesus. I want to welcome you. And I want to say to you, don't let anybody chase you out of here. If you look around and you take stock of what took you to get here, we paid the highest price of any club you could ever belong to. You've had to burn your life down to the ground. I did. You've had to destroy every relationship that ever had love for you. I did. You had to do a lot of things against your will. So if you're here, stick around. Don't let anybody chase you out here. And for those young folks, I want to say this. I want to say if somebody comes up to you and says, oh, you know what, you're too young to get sober, turn right around to that Jurassic and say, oh, really? Well, how young do you have to be to die? Because that's what happens around here if we don't watch out and we don't embrace each other. So if you're new or you're used or whatever, I'm glad you're here. Stick around. This is the best deal that I've found. I've got 5,529 days, and if there's any tweakers in the room, stop thinking. Now, I know there's tweakers up here on the west side because we have them down in Hermosa. And I sponsor you people. And you're busy. Fuck. You're taking shit apart and never putting it back together. You're cleaning behind stuff that doesn't need to be cleaned. And you're always on the lookout for something special. Something that you can use. And I say this because I've been given the ability around here to just say yes. And when the guy approached me and I asked him, hey, what's your drink of choice or what did you do to get here? And, he said, well, I'm a tweaker, I had to kind of look that up, but I learned what a tweaker was. And I just said yes. And if I wouldn't have said yes, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity to experience what makes a tweaker different than, say, an alcoholic. And invariably, I'll be working with the guy, and they're fidgety. They've bitten their nails down to quicks, and they're a little jumpy and stuff. But invariably, I'll be going through the book with the guy, and invariably it'll happen. He'll stop and he'll go. And I'm going, hey, what are you doing up here? We're doing the book. He goes, I thought I saw something in the carpet. The age-old question that I try to answer around here is, what's the difference between an alcoholic and an addict? For the alcoholics, do you remember porcelain? Do Do you remember the cold tile when you're out at the clubs and you're passing out? You know, like me, it could be by a urinal anywhere, but remember the cold feeling of tile or the porcelain? How comforting it was? I've slept on tile before. You know, it's not like linoleum. You need the good stuff. You know, and it's just, but for the addict, it's carpeting. And, you know, and I thought about it because I sponsor the people that are addicts and stuff, and I found out that it's a source of hope and entertainment. Right? 5,525 days. I celebrated 15 years, January 1st, 1999. My home group is the Hermosa Beach Men's Stag. I have a sponsor. His name is J.S. He currently resides in Sedona, Arizona. And yes, you can be sponsored via Skype or by a lot of electronic media that we have other than the telephone. It can be done. And it's always fun to go up and visit your sponsor in his new digs where he's really happy and he's digging it and he's entrenched in the community. And, you know, we've got family everywhere around here if you're active. We have family everywhere in every country, and we always look forward to traveling. I got a grand sponsor. His name is Paul C. He's down in Oceanside. He was the ruthless guy that got me in the general service because he has been a delegate, he's been a trustee, he's been all these things, and he's kept me on my toes. And let me tell you really quickly, I don't have a lot of time, but let me tell you quickly about my late great-grand sponsor, Harry. I don't know if Harry Homer ever spoke at this meeting, but he died about 3.5, 4 years ago. Harry he died with 55 years of sobriety, and at one time he was sponsored by the atheist Jimmy Burwell, one of the first 100. And obviously, those of you that are into history, Burwell was the guy that was basically working with our co-founder, Bill Wilson, and gave him the idea about, hey, knock off this God stuff so much when he's writing the manuscript of the book. Why don't you put something like as God as we understand him, or God as you understand him? So we've got a direct link right back to literally the first 10, if you will. But Harry was really cool. Harry was the little roofer out of Philadelphia who cut a hole in a liquor store to steal a case of liquor. And I like that. I identify with that. My favorite story of Harry, and I used to go down and see him a lot in Oceanside. Anybody go to the International in San Antonio? Nobody. Great. All right. Strongly suggest you go. Internationals are cool. I've been to 3. And I'm going to go to the 4th one. It's coming up next year in Atlanta. Please go. It's an awesome thing. Anyway, we're at one of the Hilton hotels down in San Antonio, and we got a cake for Harry, and it had big 55 on the cake. Now, Harry, you know, he got sober when he was 24 years old in 1955. So you can get sober young, and it's been going on forever. So don't anybody you can't get sober young around here. So all of us middle-aged guys were hanging around, we're like crying, we're singing happy birthday, and Harry's there, and I saw it. The normies were walking by because we were in the lobby of one of these Hiltons. And it happened. She was walking by, and she was a little cynical, and she's looking by. She's looking at Harry. She's looking at the 55. She's looking at Harry, and Harry was 85. She's looking at Harry, looking at the cake, and I heard it. She turned to her normie friend, she said, "Damn, that dude was wore out. He looks like he was rode hard and brought back wet." I told Harry that, and he laughed so hard. And he said, "If she only knew." See, Harry shared a magic about Alcoholics Anonymous that I hope you have, and I hope that I get to continue. And that's this thing about being involved. Harry had 55 years of sobriety, and he was the greeter at the Carlsbad workshop for years. He knew almost everybody's name, and it's a meeting as big as this, if not bigger. You know, and some of us, when we come in and we do some things around here, we want to backslide a little bit. I know at 5 years I wanted to cool it, but he never let up, man. He always said, "What are you doing for Alcoholics Anonymous? What are you doing every day for your alcoholism?" And he taught me this thing about once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Don't forget what you are. And if there's a debate, you're on slippery soil. I have no debate at this moment in time because every day I wake up and I realize what I am. I am an alcoholic. You can catch me. I'm a real alcoholic. You can catch me on page 21. That's when I was going through the book, I found myself. And I made those notes in the margin about what made that up. And I found myself in the book. The book became personal to me. I'll never be able to repay that man who said yes when I asked for help. For the new folks, the hardest thing I've ever had to do in the first 15 years of my sobriety was ask for help. I can't tell you how difficult that was for me to chase this guy across the parking lot of the Hermosa Beach Alano Club and ask for help. And he pissed me off because he said, well, why don't you meet me at my coffee shop and we'll talk about it. Now, come on, man, I'm hip, I got a lot to share with AA, and I got a lot to add to this thing, and I thought, and you know what? He made the perfect approach for a slick guy like me who still had some ideas when I came in. And over the course of the week, we got together and we started doing this thing, and he found out exactly what I knew. I knew just about as much as the first page of the big book. It's blank. I knew nothing about getting sober. And through the program and through good sponsorship, I'm here today, happy, wholesome, useful. What else can I tell you here? One thing, I know this is a workshop, and I know that for a workshop, you want to kind of basically condense your story into something that is useful on a topic. And I guess my topic is going to be, that you'll find out, is just saying yes around here. I don't do drunkalogs because everybody knows what a drunkalog is, but I drank for 20 years. When I came to you, I had 3 DUIs and a wet reckless. 1995 was a very bad year for me, very bad year. Drank myself out of a marriage. I drank myself out of the house. I'm the only guy in this room who has lost money on California real estate. Literally, I mean, you got to drink yourself down and be in a position to sell at exactly the wrong time. And I can do that. So if there's anybody here looking at real estate, come to me first and do the exact opposite of what I've done. Because of this program, I was able to recreate myself and pay back all the money and get my credit standing to where it's really bitching. And in 2007, I bought a great house down in Torrance. Because of this program, because of not drinking one day at a time. And I've had some really good examples around here. I want to say happy birthday to all the birthday folks, and especially my brother Brooks. Brooks was here when I came in. And it's guys like Brooks and the men's stags that I go to who have the example of when it gets rough and when it gets salty. I get to watch these guys walk through their difficulties with grace and dignity. They ask for help. They get really close to us. They allow us into their sobriety. There's an intimacy around here if you want it. And you can have it for fun and for free around here if you dummy up and you get a home group like I've got that's a really strong home group and allow them to get to know you and get to see you on a regular basis. And this is some of the joys that I've gotten with some of these examples that still go on today. I also qualify for this program because my mom died of this disease at age 57. My sister died of this disease at age 53. And my father, while he was not an alcoholic, the last 4 years of his life, I couldn't call him past 3 o'clock in the afternoon because he wouldn't remember the conversation. Anybody here grow up in the violent alcoholic home? It was always a joy when my mom would come out of Schick Shadle in the 60s. You know the Schick Shadle is, for the new folks, the Schick Shadle is this aversion therapy. This is before the cool treatment centers we got today. And they'd basically roll you up to the bar, ask you what your drink is, and they would ply you and ply you and ply you until you threw up. And then they'd do it some more and do it some more until over the course of their therapy, you couldn't stand the smell or the sight of a drink. My mom was a frickin' real alcoholic. She went through that thing 3 times. My lineage says we don't stop no matter what. Yeah. And then she'd always be there, like, the next couple of weeks with the sparkling water and the lemon and the white knuckles just gripping because she wanted a drink so bad. And we know how that feeling is. I know that feeling of aloneness. I know that feeling of sadness and shame and remorse and guilt. And just like you, newcomer, everybody in here in this room has been new. You saw the birthdays. You saw these anniversaries. I was taught that that's direct evidence that this thing works. And I saw that in a much grander scale when I was having trouble with this God thing. I bottomed out in 1995. I was having a really bad year. Jerry Garcia died in 1995 on August 9th. And, oh, by the way, yeah, I ran around with this band called the Grateful Dead for a while. I wasn't in it, but I was around it all the time. And for the new folks here, ask your sponsor who the Grateful Dead were. I can't go into it right now. But that parking lot was the happiest place on earth, and we did mountains of drugs. And another thing, I like it when the old-timers get really bristly when we talk about drugs. And I say, it took our co-founder all the way to page 6 6 in the big book to talk about medicine cabinets and high-powered sedatives. There must have been a problem back then, right? Stick around. Don't let anybody chase you out of here. But this is Alcoholics Anonymous, and again, identify as an alcoholic. That's always helpful. You know, I knew I was an alcoholic early on. My definition of an alcoholic is if you have drinking and you have consequences because of your drinking. That's as simple as I could get it. I fought this thing tooth and nail until 1995, and I was lucky enough to be able to get a bed at the ABC Center out in Indio, California. Now, the ABC Center back then, this was no fancy-dancy place, man, to go to, and I'm not belittling anybody that paid 80 grand a week to be at these places now, but there was no infinity pool, there was no horseback riding, you know, there was no aromatherapy going on. I mean, this was the last house in the block, and it's what I needed. I paid $675. And I got to go to a real AA meeting. Now, I've been to your AA meetings because I was going to jail and I was going getting these DUIs. But it's like the old adage, you can tell an alcoholic, but you can't tell him much. And if you're telling me to go somewhere, you know, screw that. It's like school after you get sober, man. The guys that I sponsor, they go back to school and they say, you know, Pete, this is really different. I go, why? He goes, this is actually pretty cool. I go, yeah, because you want to go. Nobody's telling you to go. And they go, oh, yeah, yeah. So I come out of the ABC Center, and I remember going to a speaker meeting, kind of like this. It was at the Fellowship Hall in Portola. And at that time, they didn't have any HR, and I was really afraid about losing my job. And HR in those days was a phone call that I got from the finance guy, and he said, listen, Trick, we're going to give you 30 days off. You get your S together and call us back, and we'll see if you have a job. Boom. And I was frightened I was going to lose my job. I thought I was going to be blackballed from my industry. I've sold titanium and superalloys now for 28 years. I'm still with that same job. They stood behind me when I was drinking myself to death. Today, the ironic twist is they call me when they have a likely allergic type. And they say, what do you think we should do? And I'll say, let me call them. And what do I say? Hello, Trick. This is what I suggest you do. And, you know, it's an amazing thing when you can stop being part of the problem. In my nutshell, that's what I think that my whole sobriety was. I'm not part of the problem today. Got divorced, a lot of things happened, and I had to recreate myself. And the neat thing is I did that hard thing, and I asked that sponsor for help. Let me tell you about the first guy that ever asked me for help about this working with others thing. I was at the Rodeo group. I was a year sober. I just completed my my steps. And the Rodeo group 15 years ago was a fun meeting, man. It was hot. It was like this one. It had character. It had a lot of wild individuals, a lot of personalities. Some of them like just multiple personalities with one person. It was really, really cool. Oh, you identify. Okay. This guy came up to me and he asked me for help. And you know me, man. I'm a guy that's going to say yes. And I went running back to Jay, and I said, Jay, this guy asked me for help last night at Rodeo. And he goes, well, what did you do? I said yes. He goes, oh, okay. What's the problem? He's gay. I don't know anything about being gay. I don't know anything about the lifestyle. He goes, no, dumb ass. Your job is to take him through the steps, get him situated with a home group, work with him. He knows how to be gay. The loving hand of God. If I would have said no to Pete at that time, I would have never gotten the experience of having to try to take a homosexual through the 4-step and through this process. And Pete didn't stay sober as far as I know, but when we got to that 4-step, I learned about how difficult it is, what kind of life that he was living. And the level of shame at that time for that individual was over the top. He says, I can't share with you what I do. I can't share with you on an intimate level what I've done. And it broke my heart. See, when you actually allow yourself to be intimate with another human being and you get these guys asking for help, we fall in love with them. You know, yeah, we're supposed to be sponsors, but you know what? If somebody's going to give you a 5th step, how can you not absolutely fall in love with this guy? I mean, because you're going to know everything about him and you're going to share everything about yourself. And there's a bond that nobody wants when you come in, but you get it. You know, when I came in, my sponsor circled 3 meetings in the meeting directory. I live in Torrance. He circled the Hermosa Beach Monday Night Stag. It's at 8:30 at the Hermosa Beach Solano's Club. Hey, if there's anybody here, any guys that are allergic types that want to come, get my number after the meeting, and I'll tell you why, because it starts at 8:30. It's the last meeting in the South Bay that starts. We get a lot of people off the plane that come in from other places. We have a lot of visitors. But 30% of our group is literally under the age of 21. You see, we really endorse getting sober young in this place. But what comes out of the mouths of babes is so hilarious. I mean, they've got plans, they've got ideas, and we love plans, man. Come on, tell me your plan. You know, and as my friend Scott Redmond used to say, you know, it's the last big dope deal to set me up in sobriety. You know, that's usually the number one, the big one. So, okay, yeah, let's not do that. That's not a good one. But if you're in town and you're a male and you want to go to a really good men's stag and laugh a lot, come down and see us. But, you know, again, working with these others, I could have missed that if I would have said no. And again, working with these guys on a one-to-one basis, and look, I'm still single. I've obviously never remarried, and you know, I'm very active in this group. I've never had a child, and I understand probably the most holy place on earth is the birthing center when you have your first child. I mean, that's got to be crazy. But I'll tell you what, pound for pound, working across that table when that guy's giving you a 5th step, I've never had any type of experience that pales that. I mean, it is truly a magical thing to be able to do that. And those of us that do work with others, that's the payoff. I mean, the book tells us that's where the rubber meets the road. I had a little trouble with the God thing when I came in. I know you won't believe that, being a deadhead and everything, but did a lot of meditating on acid. That was a good thing. I was a little cynical when I came in, and it was October of 1999, and I was just kind of finishing up my steps, and my sponsor came to me and he said, give me $200. Now I thought, okay, here we go. This is going to be one of these Gucci-type sponsorships where I buy him some Hugo Boss, get him a Rolex, he's going to keep me sober, you know, we're going to go to some cool meetings, and I'm going to fund him. But what I said was okay, and I gave him the money, and I lied in wait. A month later, he says, hey, Pete, did you ever wonder what I did with the money? And I said, I'd love to know. He said, I enrolled you in the lottery for housing at this international convention that's coming up in Minneapolis. I think you should go. Hell, I'm a newcomer in AA. I'm like, what's an international convention? He said, it's the one place on the planet every 5 years where tens of thousands of alcoholics from all over the world gather and just have a big party. I really like you to go. My mind said I don't have the time. My wallet said I don't have the money. My brain says I don't have the desire, but out of my mouth said, okay. Now, what's significant is I went, but what is significant about this story is Jay was 20 years sober at the time, and his business was failing. And he couldn't go. But he made sure that the new guy went. And I had a great time, and it was cheesy. I mean, it was so cheesy. Well, we brought our flag from our home group. Fuck, we had to sit together, and this flag is up there, Hermosa Beach. You know, and I'm like, God, this is just beyond lame. But I'm hanging in. I know there's a payoff here. I'm waiting for this payoff. Hell, I paid $200 for this housing. It was a big meeting, and Tom I gave the last big talk of this of the 3 days, and I had a ball. I had fun. I had a bunch of guys from my home group who were doing this thing, and I had a good time. But during the silly prayer that they do at the end of every frickin' meeting we go to, we got up and we held hands, and I looked out, and I saw you for the first time in numbers. And we started saying the silly prayer, and it came up this arm. Whatever hair I had left was sending up on my neck. It went down this arm, and it was electric. At that point in time, I said, look, everybody here has been new. Everybody in here has been through the ringer. Everybody in here is for the same reason. And I bought your package at that time, hook, line, and sinker, and I've never looked back. Months later, I got involved in general service. I've done 8 years in general service. I've gone to more process and committee meetings and traveling for different things, but I got a fundamental appreciation for how this thing works. And I'll never badmouth general service at all. I mean, hell, with Paul, man, being a trustee and a delegate at large, man, I was screwed going in. But it was a wonderful, wonderful thing because my sponsor did it, and I wanted what my sponsor had. I don't know your story. I don't know why you're here. But from my experience, this is the only thing that works. This is the only thing that ever worked for me. I've tried everything I know how. But it took all these things to be able to get to a reasonable spot in life where I don't have to debate if I'm alcoholic or not. Miracles happen around here. Stick around. Don't trade in your seat. Look at the price you paid to get here. Hang out with us. Ask for help. AA is experiential. I know this. You read the steps, they don't look like they're going to mean much, but just do it and try it. You're worth it. Don't leave before the miracle. It could be you. Thank you. All right, who's got a zinger? Wow, we're going home early. Oh, there we go. Yes, sir. I have. I have worn the glitter. I have gone to a wharf rat meeting. The question was, have you ever been to a wharf rat meeting? And the wharf rats are basically sober deadheads. I know that's an oxymoron almost, but sober deadheads. That means no drugs or alcohol or anything. And I remember at first I thought, how could this possibly be? But like you, when I was trying to get sober, I went there and I checked it out. And of course, 95 was my last dead show when they stopped. But they have this community where if you are like-minded and you like the music, they have chapters around here and other places. I remember when I was doing the steps, my sponsor goes, did you ever have cravings and did you ever try to stop drinking alcohol? I said, oh yeah, there's one time. The tour of 93, man, I was up in Seattle and I just did nitrous only. Does that count? Because I thought, gas, it's clean from God. And he goes, no. Doesn't count. It's all about intent. We're going home early. Awesome. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Tell me more about your conscious contact with God in your life.
Funny thing. Oh, sorry. He wanted to know about my conscious contact with God and some of the specifics of it. When I was brand new, my time for my sponsor meeting at his house was on Tuesdays between 6:30 and 7:30. I had 1 hour. And I can't tell you how privileged I was at 38 years old. I'm paying back the money. I'm a single guy, almost in his 40s, living in a one-bedroom apartment, up to my ass in bills, trying to be cool, trying to get sober. I didn't date for 2 years in AA because I had nothing to offer. And I'm going over to my sponsor's house every Tuesday. And what happened is I really looked forward to it, just being invited to that guy's house. And the byproduct is he had a men's meditation meeting from 7:30 to 8:30. And he says, you're welcome to show up if you want to. Call me people pleaser, call me whatever you want, man. I was going to hang out. And I was waiting for these guys with Ray-Bans on and these beams coming out of their head, and they're going to all show up. And there was a lot of old-time guys going to Jay's house back then. And I just hung out. And I learned how to get quiet. And it was really tough at the beginning. I mean, thank God I wasn't tweaking, or I'm sure I would have scratched the walls out. But, I just learned to get quiet from the very first day. And I'm here to tell you that the steps are numbered in order. However, you can do the 11th step at any time. And it's just about prayer and meditation and getting this conscious contact that the book talks about. My mind is very, very calm these days. I've slept like a baby ever since I quit drinking. Actually, the whole allergy and the obsession was lifted early on for me. And it really helped getting into this spiritual, these things that we do, especially meditation. The 11th step calls for prayer and meditation. Meditation is not for extra credit. Thank you. That's cool. Yes, sir. Anything specific on there? They're very short, but they're obviously they're.
Like you said, your experience
Yes. The question was steps 6 and 7. You know, what's my experience with it? You know, I didn't do the most thoroughest inventory in the world, and that's basically where your sponsor is going to be able to kind of pull out any kind of defects of characters that you might have. But I was more than willing to put down a lot of things. And here's another caveat. When I'm taking a guy through his inventory, the inventory is not just for all your negatives. I think it's very beneficial, and I implore my guys to put down your assets. It's not just all liabilities. And that way you kind of balance these things. And when it comes to the amends process, you don't necessarily have yourself at the top of the list. The sponsorship and the lineage that I come from is we don't put ourselves on that list until the very bottom. Because once you've gone through that amends process, and I know this is not 6 or 7, but once you go through that amends process, by the time you get to yourself, you don't have to, you know, tell yourself you don't have to give an amends to yourself. And that's, for me, that was a lot thing, because when you get to that point, you know you've done a lot of work. But primarily, it's just, you know, I had to have my sponsor and others kind of tell me what my defects of character was, because they're not all going to come out. And obviously, you know, I was already into the prayer and meditation part, and I incorporated that into my morning meditation and things like that. And again, I had to write it down and have a list handy, whether you put it on a 3x5 card or whatever with maybe some other things. I had to put those things front and center, and I had a little fishbowl when I was new where I would draw out one of those 3x5 cards, and it would have a character defect on there that I was going to work on that day. Because for me, I wanted to be clean of this thing. I didn't want to drink again, and I was willing to do just about anything. So thank you for that question. Yes, sir. Last question.
What surprised you most about going to the conventions?
It's a great question. What impressed me, or what did I find that was big about going to, what was different about going to these conventions? I've been in a position in my sobriety where anonymity has not been a real big thing. Yes, I'm in sales. I've been a field sales guy for a long time. My customers knew when I was drinking myself to death, but then they got to watch me get sober. And I'm a big guy on allowing others to recover with me. See, we're not supposed to get well. We're supposed to die drunk in the gutter. We're supposed to relapse, and we're supposed to hold up banks and all this stuff. I want people watching me. I want to be accountable, and I want to see people celebrate when I get my good things, and I want them to be with me when I hit lows and stuff. So I've been super open about my anonymity. Not everybody has that luxury. The thing about the conventions is the sheer numbers and the magnitude of the people that are there. I remember in Toronto, I'm riding on this bus, and everybody's got their name badges on in the middle of town, you know, and it was the sheer numbers and the concentration of alcoholics. I mean, there was 55,000 people in Minneapolis. There was a good 50,000 people in Toronto and in San Antonio. What I came away with every single time is this is a worldwide thing. We are a factor in humanity. I don't know if you know this, but the Al-Anons know it, that, you know, an alcoholic affects a lot of people. The Al-Anons know it because they get the backlog of the 10 that we actually affect. But we can do the opposite we can affect people in a good nature by being the best big book that somebody could ever see. So I try to be up front. No, I don't have stickers all over my car. But you know what, when people seems like they want to talk about being alcoholic or something, or I have a customer saying, hey, you're not drinking. What's up? I don't volunteer it right away. Maybe the third time they'll say, why aren't you drinking? And I usually give them the old stand there answer, you know, well, I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs. Anybody else? That was the last, I guess that was good. He's cutting me off, man. That's it. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. And if that shows up, the gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.